Disabled veteran gets death penalty. Then her German shepherd uncovers the shocking truth. The courtroom fell silent as Judge Malcolm Hargrove delivered the verdict. In the case of the state versus Captain Maya Rodriguez, this court finds the defendant guilty of first-degree murder. Maya Rodriguez, a decorated Army veteran who had served 3 tours in Afghanistan before losing her leg to a roadside bomb, sat motionless. Only the slight trembling of her hands betrayed her emotions. The brutal nature of this crime leaves this court with no alternative, Judge Hargrove continued. Captain Rodriguez, you are hereby sentenced to death by lethal injection. A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Maya's public defender, Sam Winters, rose to object, but Maya placed a restraining hand on his arm. I didn't do this, she said quietly. But no one believes me anyway. As court officers approached, Maya turned to the back of the courtroom where a German shepherd sat beside an elderly man in a wheelchair. Take care of Atlas, Dad, Maya called out. Don't let them put him down, the German shepherd whined, straining against his leash held by Maya's father, retired Sergeant Major Victor Rodriguez. The old soldier's face remained stoic, but tears tracked silently down his cheeks as he nodded. The case had seemed ironclad. Maya's former commanding officer, Colonel James Westfield, had been found murdered in his home. The evidence was damning. Maya's fingerprints on the murder weapon, her blood at the scene, and security footage showing her car nearby. The prosecution painted a picture of a disturbed veteran seeking revenge against the officer who had denied her medical leave. What the jury never heard was how Westfield had covered up sexual assault allegations within their unit and threatened to block Maya's benefits if she spoke out. These details had been deemed prejudicial by the judge. As Mia was led away in handcuffs, Atlas lunged forward, barking frantically. The service dog had been with Mia since her return from Afghanistan, trained to alert her to panic attacks and provide stability when phantom pain became unbearable. Now, as the courthouse doors closed behind Maya, Atlas sat back and howled a sound so mournful it sent chills through everyone within earshot. Victor stroked the dog's head. I know, boy, he whispered. I don't believe it either. What no one could possibly know was that Atlas, with his extraordinary senses and unwavering loyalty, had already begun piecing together what human justice had missed. 3 weeks after the verdict, Victor Rodriguez's modest home had become command central for Operation Vindication. The walls were covered with crime scene photos, timelines, and newspaper clippings. They railroaded her Sam. Victor said to the young public defender who had been spending his evenings reviewing the case, My daughter is many things, stubborn, outspoken, brave, but she's not a murderer. The appeal process has started, Sam explained. But without new evidence, it's an uphill battle. Atlas lay at the edge of the room, his amber eyes tracking their movements. Since Maya's incarceration, the German shepherd had been listless, refusing food. But tonight, something had changed. The dog's ears were perked forward, his body tense with alertness. When the doorbell rang, Atlas was on his feet instantly, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Easy, boy, Victor soothed, wheeling toward the door. Standing on the porch was a woman in her early 30s with a military bearing. Sergeant Major Rodriguez, I'm Lieutenant Diane Foster. I served under your daughter in Afghanistan. She hesitated. I need to talk to you about Colonel Westfield. I don't think Maya killed him. As Foster stepped inside, Atlas approached her cautiously, sniffing her extended hand before allowing her to enter. I wanted to come forward during the trial, Foster explained, but I was warned to stay out of it. Warned by whom? Sam asked. Major Philip Garrison. He's taken over Westfield's position. Foster's hands twisted nervously. Look, there's something you need to know about Westfield. He was involved in something much bigger. Foster outlined a scheme involving military contracts, kickbacks, and officers skimming millions from veteran rehabilitation programs. Maya had stumbled onto financial discrepancies while fighting for her own benefits and had begun asking questions. The night Westfield was killed, Maya wasn't the only one who visited him. Foster continued. I was monitoring communications as part of my duties. Garrison went to Westfield's house an hour after Maya left. You're sure about this? Victor leaned forward. Foster nodded. Positive. But the security footage from that time frame mysteriously disappeared from evidence. As Foster spoke, Atlas moved to sit beside her, his attention completely focused. When she mentioned Garrison's name, the dog's ears flattened against his head. There's something else, Foster said, reaching into her jacket. Maya gave me this USB drive the day before Westfield was killed. She told me to keep it safe, that it contained evidence of the contract fraud. She placed the small device on the coffee table. Maybe there's something on here that can help her. After Foster left, Sam plugged the drive into his laptop. It contained dozens of spreadsheets and emails documenting the contract scheme, but nothing that directly linked Garrison to Westfield's murder. It's motive, Sam said, but not enough for an appeal. We need physical evidence. As if in answer, Atlas suddenly rose and trotted to the corner where Maya's belongings had been boxed up. The dog pawed insistently at a duffel bag. What is it, boy? Victor wheeled over and unzipped the bag. Inside were Maya's running clothes, her prosthetic running blade, and a small GPS fitness tracker. When was the last time Maya used that tracker? Sam asked. The day Westfield was killed, Victor realized she always went running in the morning. Sam connected the tracker to his computer. The data loaded showing Maya's 5-minute route that morning, a route that took her nowhere near Westfield's neighborhood. This contradicts the prosecution's timeline, Sam said excitedly. They claim she went to Westfield's house that morning, but according to this, she was running on the other side of town. Atlas weaved, softly moving back to the duffel bag and nosing at Maya's running shoes. Victor pulled them out, examining them closely. These are clean, he observed. If she had been at Westfield's house that day, there would be traces of the gravel from his driveway. Sam nodded. It's another inconsistency, but still circumstantial. We need more. As Sam prepared to leave, Atlas suddenly blocked the door, barking insistently. What's gotten into him? Sam asked. He wants to show us something, Victor replied. Maya always said he was smarter than most people she knew. Victor attached Atlas's leash and opened the front door. The German shepherd immediately pulled forward, his nose to the ground, leading them into the night with determined purpose. Atlas led them through the quiet streets with unwavering determination, pulling them toward the military base. This doesn't make sense, Sam muttered as they approached the perimeter fence. What could he possibly be tracking after all this time? Atlas stopped at a service entrance, whining softly at the chain-link gate. Beyond it lay a storage area for base maintenance equipment. We can't go in there, Sam said. That's military property. Victor's face hardened with resolve. My daughter is facing lethal injection for a crime she didn't commit. I'll take my chances with trespassing charges. They noticed the gate was slightly ajar. Atlas squeezed through without hesitation, and the men followed. The dog led them to a row of large dumpsters behind a maintenance shed, circling one particular dumpster before sitting beside it, looking up expectantly. Sam lifted the heavy plastic lid and examined the contents using his phone's flashlight. "It's mostly construction debris," he reported. "Broken drywall, old carpet." His voice trailed off as the light caught something reflective. "Wait a minute." Reaching in carefully, Sam extracted a plastic bag containing what appeared to be a blood-stained uniform jacket. The name tape read, "Garrison, Major Garrison's uniform." Victor breathed. Sam quickly photographed the jacket. "This could be evidence of Garrison's involvement, but we can't just take it. Chain of custody would be broken. It would be inadmissible." "Then we need to get someone official to find it," Victor said. "Someone who can't be bought off." A sudden noise from behind the shed sent Atlas into alert mode. Sam quickly lowered the dumpster lid and pulled Victor's wheelchair back into the shadows. Two figures emerged, their voices low but distinct. "Garrison wants everything cleared out by tomorrow," one said. "The Inspector General's office is sending someone to review the contract files." "What about the Rodriguez appeal?" the second voice asked. "It won't go anywhere. The judge is an old friend of Garrison's. Besides, who's going to believe a crippled vet with PTSD over a decorated major?" As the men left, Victor's hands tightened on his wheelchair armrests. "We need to call someone outside the local chain of command." "I know just the person," Victor said grimly. The next morning, Special Agent Camila Ortiz of the Army Criminal Investigation Division arrived at Victor's home, a former JAG officer with a reputation for incorruptibility. Ortiz had served with Victor decades earlier. "This better be good, Vic," she said. "I'm risking my pension coming here unofficially." Victor explained everything: Foster's visit, the USB drive, and their discovery at the base. "So you're telling me your daughter's service dog led you to evidence implicating Major Garrison? Ortiz's skepticism was evident. Evidence conveniently found in a dumpster. "I know how it sounds," Victor admitted. "But Atlas has been trying to tell us something since Maya was arrested." Ortiz turned her attention to the German Shepherd. "Maya always said this dog was special," she conceded. "But I can't just raid a dumpster based on a dog's behavior." "What about the USB drive?" Sam asked. "That's solid evidence of the contract fraud. It's evidence of something Ortiz agreed, but it doesn't exonerate Maya from the murder." Atlas suddenly stood, moving to the front window with his ears forward. Moments later, they heard a vehicle pulling into the driveway. Lieutenant Foster entered, looking agitated. "I'm sorry to barge in, but I think I'm being followed." "By whom?" Ortiz asked sharply. "I don't know for sure, but there's a black SUV that's been parked outside my hotel." Foster held out her phone, displaying a text message. "Stay out of matters that don't concern you. This changes things," Ortiz said, her professional demeanor hardening. "Threatening a witness is a federal offense." "Will you help us?" Victor asked. Ortiz nodded slowly. "I'll need to do this by the book. First, I want to interview Lieutenant Foster officially. Then we'll need to secure that dumpster before anyone can remove evidence." As they formulated a plan, Atlas suddenly became agitated, pacing between the window and the door. "What's wrong with him?" Ortiz asked. Victor frowned. "He senses something." Sam moved to the window, carefully peering out. "There's a black SUV parked across the street." "Get away from the windows," Ortiz ordered, drawing her sidearm. "Foster, call base security. Tell them Special Agent Ortiz requests immediate assistance." Before Foster could make the call, the sound of breaking glass came from the back of the house. Atlas bolted toward the noise, barking fiercely. Someone's trying to break in. Victor said, his old military instincts kicking in. They must know Foster is here. Ortiz positioned herself near the hallway, her weapon ready. "Stay back, all of you." The sound of a struggle and a man's cry of pain came from the kitchen, followed by Atlas's continued barking. Moments later, the German shepherd returned, dragging a man by his sleeve, a man wearing the uniform of a military police officer. "What the hell?" Ortiz moved forward, keeping her weapon trained on the intruder. "Identify yourself." The man, bleeding from a bite wound on his arm, glared at them. "Corporal Jenkins, Military Police. I'm here on orders to secure potential evidence related to an ongoing investigation." Whose orders? Ortiz demanded. "Major Garrison's." The man replied, his eyes darting nervously between Ortiz's badge and her gun. Ortiz smiled coldly. "Corporal Jenkins, you've just made my job much easier, breaking and entering attempted theft of evidence, and now you've implicated a superior officer in obstruction of justice." Within the hour, Ortiz's CD team had secured Victor's home and taken Corporal Jenkins into custody. The black SUV had fled, but base security was on alert. "This is just the beginning," Ortiz told Victor as her team photographed and documented the USB drive and tracker data. "Jenkins will talk to save himself, and once we retrieve that uniform from the dumpster, we'll have physical evidence linking Garrison to the scene." Victor watched as Atlas sat calmly beside the agent, documenting the evidence his mission seemingly accomplished. "What made you believe us?" Victor asked Ortiz. She nodded toward Atlas. "In 20 years of investigations, I've learned to trust certain instincts." Maya's dog knew something was wrong from the beginning. Sometimes the truth has a way of finding its own path. The next 48 hours brought a flurry of activity. Ortiz's team recovered Major Garrison's blood-stained uniform from the dumpster, and forensic tests confirmed the blood belonged to Colonel Westfield. Corporal Jenkins, facing serious charges, had agreed to cooperate, revealing that Garrison had ordered him to plant Maya's DNA evidence at the crime scene. But just as victory seemed within reach, a devastating blow came from an unexpected direction. "They've moved up Mia's execution date," Sam announced, bursting into Victor's home where Ortiz was reviewing evidence. "The governor signed the order this morning. We have 10 days. "That's impossible," Victor protested. "The appeals process takes months, sometimes years. Not when the governor declares it a special circumstance case," Sam explained, his face pale. He cited overwhelming evidence and the heinous nature of the crime against a decorated officer. "This is Garrison pulling strings," Ortiz said grimly. "He knows we're closing in. He's trying to eliminate Maya before we can prove her innocence." "Can't you arrest him now?" Victor demanded, his voice breaking. "You have the uniform Jenkins testimony. It's not that simple," Ortiz replied. "We need to build an airtight case. If we move too soon and Garrison walks on a technicality, Maya's situation becomes even more desperate." Atlas, who had been resting near Victor's chair, suddenly raised his head, ears perked forward as if listening to a distant sound only he could hear. "What is it, boy?" Victor asked, recognizing the dog's alert posture. Atlas rose and moved to Maya's duffel bag again, pawing at it insistently. "We've already checked her running gear," Sam said, but Victor wheeled over and emptied the bag completely. "Wait," Victor said, feeling along the bottom of the bag. "There's something here." He found a small slit in the lining and carefully extracted a tiny memory card. Maya always was paranoid about backups. Ortiz took the card and inserted it into her laptop. "It's encrypted," she said after a moment. "This will take time to crack. Time we don't have," Victor reminded her. "I know someone who can help. Foster suggested a tech specialist in my unit. She's trustworthy and discreet." As Foster made the call, Atlas continued to act strangely, moving between the duffel bag and the front door, as if trying to communicate something more. "He wants to go somewhere," Victor observed. "Just like before. We can't follow a dog around while Maya's execution date approaches," Ortiz said, though her tone lacked conviction. She had seen firsthand what Atlas was capable of. "What if he knows something else?" Victor insisted. "Something we're missing." Ortiz hesitated, then nodded. "All right, you and Sam follow Atlas. Foster and I will work on decrypting this memory card, but be careful. Garrison has eyes everywhere." Once again, Victor and Sam followed Atlas into the night. This time, the German Shepherd led them to a different part of the base, the administrative section where personnel records were kept. "We can't break into the records office," Sam whispered as they approached the darkened building. "That's a federal offense." But Atlas didn't lead them to the main entrance. Instead, he circled around to a maintenance door at the back of the building, where a solitary figure stood smoking a cigarette. "Sergeant Willis," Victor called softly, recognizing the base's head records clerk. The woman startled, then relaxed when she saw Victor. "Sergeant Major Rodriguez, I was hoping you'd come." "You were expecting us?" Sam asked, confused. Willis nodded, dropping her cigarette and crushing it under her boot. Lieutenant Foster reached out, said, "You might need access to some files that have been restricted." "You're risking your career," Victor noted. Willis's expression hardened. "My brother came back from Afghanistan with PTSD. The system failed him. I won't let it fail Captain Rodriguez, too." She held up a key card. "You have 20 minutes before the security patrol makes its rounds." Inside, Willis led them to a computer terminal. "What exactly are you looking for?" "Anything connecting Major Garrison to Colonel Westfield's murder," Sam explained. Willis typed rapidly, bypassing security protocols with practiced ease. "Garrison ordered all files related to Captain Rodriguez classified last week. That's unusual for a simple murder case." "Can you access them?" Victor asked. "Already done," Willis replied, her eyes scanning the screen. "There's something strange here. The original forensic report on the murder weapon doesn't match what was presented in court." Sam leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "According to this, the initial analysis found 2 distinct blood types on the knife Westfield's and an unknown sample, but the court evidence only mentioned Westfield's blood and Maya's fingerprints. They suppressed evidence of a second person at the scene, Sam realized. Willis continued searching. "There's more. Garrison requested Colonel Westfield's personal effects be released to him instead of Westfield's family. Claimed it was for ongoing investigation." Atlas, who had been sitting patiently by the door, suddenly became alert. His ears perked toward the hallway. "Someone's coming," Victor warned. Willis quickly logged out. "Take this," she said, handing Sam a flash drive. "I've copied everything I could find. Now go use the back exit." They slipped out just as voices approached the records office. Atlas led them through the shadows, avoiding the security patrol with uncanny precision. Back at Victor's home, they found Ortiz and Foster huddled over the laptop, their expressions grim but determined. "We've decrypted the memory card," Ortiz announced. "It contains a recording Maya made of her last meeting with Westfield the day before he was killed." She played the audio file. Maya's voice came through clearly. "I know about the contract fraud, Colonel. I know you and Garrison have been skimming funds meant for veteran rehabilitation." Westfield's response was dismissive. "You have no proof that would stand up in court, Captain. And with your history of PTSD, who would believe you? I have the financial records Maya accounted. And I'm not the only one who knows. If anything happens to me, everything goes to the Inspector General." "Are you threatening me?" Westfield's voice turned dangerous. "I'm giving you a chance to do the right thing," Maya replied. "Return the money. Resign your commission or I go public." The recording ended with Westfield ordering Mia to leave his office. "This establishes motive," Sam said excitedly. Westfield had reason to fear Maya would expose the scheme, and Garrison had even more reason to silence Westfield if he thought the colonel might confess to save himself, Ortiz added. Victor handed her the flash drive from Willis. "There's more. The original forensic report found blood from an unknown person on the murder weapon evidence that was suppressed at trial." Ortiz plugged in the drive, her expression growing more determined as she reviewed the files. "This is it. With the recording, the forensic discrepancies, and Garrison's bloody uniform, we have enough to request an emergency stay of execution." "Will it be enough?" Victor asked, the fear for his daughter evident in his voice. "It has to be," Ortiz replied. "I'll take this directly to the federal prosecutor tonight." As they prepared the documents for the prosecutor, Atlas once again became agitated, pacing between the front door and Victor's chair. "What now?" Sam asked, watching the dog's behavior. A moment later, the lights in the house went out, plunging them into darkness. "That's not a coincidence," Ortiz said, reaching for her weapon. Everyone stay down. Through the window, they could see figures moving across the front yard. At least 3 men approaching the house from different directions. "Garrison's making his move," Foster whispered. "He knows we have the evidence. We need to get these files to the prosecutor," Ortiz said urgently. "Everything else is just copies." Victor looked at Atlas, who was now standing by the back door. "I have an idea, Sam. Give me the flash drive and memory card." "What are you thinking?" Ortiz asked, as Victor attached a small pouch to Atlas's service vest. Maya trained Atlas for all kinds of scenarios, including emergency message delivery, Victor explained, securing the evidence in the pouch. "He knows the base better than any of us. You want to send the dog to deliver crucial evidence." Ortiz couldn't hide her skepticism. "Do you have a better idea?" Victor challenged. "Those men out there will shoot us on sight. Atlas can move without being detected. Even if he could," Sam argued, where would he go? "The prosecutor's office is downtown." "Not the prosecutor," Victor said. "The base commander, General Winters, has known Maya since she was a cadet. If he sees this evidence directly, he'll act immediately." Ortiz considered for a moment, then nodded. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance. The rest of us will create a diversion to draw them away from the back of the house." Victor knelt beside Atlas, holding the dog's face between his hands. "Find General Winters, boy, like Maya taught you. Find the general." Atlas's intelligent eyes seemed to understand the gravity of the mission. He stood perfectly still as Victor attached a note to his vest alongside the evidence pouch. "Ready?" Ortiz asked, positioning herself near the front window. At Victor's nod, Ortiz fired 2 shots through the window, deliberately missing the approaching men, but forcing them to take cover. In the ensuing chaos, Victor opened the back door just enough for Atlas to slip out into the darkness. The German shepherd disappeared into the night, carrying with him Maya's last hope for justice. Atlas moved through the shadows with the stealth of a ghost, his training and instincts guiding him toward the base commander's residence. The weight of the evidence pouch on his vest was nothing compared to the importance of his mission. Twice he froze as patrols passed nearby, his dark coat blending into the night. Once he detoured around a group of soldiers responding to the gunshots at Victor's home. Through it all, he maintained his course, driven by an unshakable loyalty to his imprisoned handler. At the base commander's house, Atlas faced his first real obstacle, the security detail posted outside. 2 armed MPs stood guard at the front entrance, while a third patrolled the perimeter. The German shepherd circled the property, searching for an opening. He found it at the back garden, where a partially open window led to what appeared to be a study. With calculated precision, Atlas squeezed through the narrow opening, landing silently on the carpeted floor inside. General Winters was working late reviewing documents at his desk when a soft whine made him look up. The sight of Maya Rodriguez's service dog standing in his study, a pouch attached to his vest, left the general momentarily speechless. Atlas. He finally managed recognizing the distinctive German shepherd. "How did you get in here?" The dog approached the desk, sitting at attention and looking expectantly at the general. Winters noticed the note attached to the vest and carefully removed it. Evidence proving Maya Rodriguez's innocence. Captain Rodriguez was framed by Major Garrison. Lives at risk. Please help. Winters read aloud, his expression shifting from confusion to concern. He opened the evidence pouch, finding the flash drive and memory card inside. Without hesitation, he inserted the flash drive into his computer and began reviewing the files. Meanwhile, back at Victor's house, the situation had deteriorated rapidly. Garrison's men had forced their way in disarming Ortiz and taking everyone captive. Major Garrison himself arrived shortly after his normally immaculate uniform, disheveled, his eyes wild with desperation. "Where is the evidence?" he demanded, looming over Victor's wheelchair. "What evidence?" Victor replied defiantly. Garrison struck him across the face. "Don't play games with me, old man. I know you have recordings files." "Where are they gone?" Ortiz said calmly from where she was being restrained. "Already in the hands of federal prosecutors." "You're lying!" Garrison snarled, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "Search the house again," he ordered his men. "Tear it apart if you have to. It won't matter." Foster spoke up, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "It's over, Garrison. Too many people know the truth now." "No one knows anything," Garrison insisted, his composure cracking. "And no one will. By morning, you'll all have had a tragic accident. A deranged father unable to accept his daughter's guilt, taking hostages before police were forced to intervene." "You're going to murder a federal agent?" Ortiz asked incredulously. "That's your solution. You should never have gotten involved," Garrison replied coldly. "This was contained until you started digging." As Garrison's men continued searching the house, the major's phone rang. He checked the caller ID, his face paling slightly before he answered. "General Winters, sir, this is unexpected." Garrison's voice shifted to a respectful tone, though tension remained evident. "Yes, sir? I'm actually investigating a potential security breach." "No, sir. I haven't heard about any new evidence in the Rodriguez case." The others watched as Garrison's expression transformed from confident to cornered. "Sir, I can explain. That's not... Those files are taken out of context." Garrison's protests grew weaker as the general apparently continued speaking. "Yes, sir, I understand. I'll report to your office immediately." He ended the call, staring blankly at his phone for a moment before looking up at his captives with hatred in his eyes. "What did you do?" he demanded. Before anyone could answer, the sound of military vehicles approaching filled the air. Through the window, they could see MP vehicles with flashing lights surrounding the house. "Major Philip Garrison," a voice BM'd through a megaphone. "This is General Winters. You and your men are ordered to surrender your weapons and exit the building with your hands visible. You are under arrest for conspiracy obstruction of justice and the murder of Colonel James Westfield." Garrison's men looked to him uncertainly, their resolve wavering. "It's over," Major Ortiz said quietly. "Make it easier on yourself." For a moment it seemed Garrison might resist. His hand moved toward his sidearm, but seeing the hopelessness of his situation, he finally slumped in defeat. As the MPs entered and took Garrison and his men into custody, General Winters himself walked in, followed by Atlas. The German shepherd immediately went to Victor, nuzzling his hand as if to reassure him that the mission had been accomplished. Sergeant Major Rodriguez Winter said formally, "On behalf of the United States Army, I offer my deepest apologies for this miscarriage of justice. I've already contacted the governor. Captain Rodriguez's execution has been stayed pending review of this new evidence." Victor reached out to stroke Atlas's head, tears of relief streaming down his weathered face. "You did it, boy," he whispered. "You saved her." 3 weeks later, Maya Rodriguez walked out of prison a free woman. The governor had not only vacated her sentence, but issued a full pardon after the extent of Garrison's conspiracy was revealed. She emerged into the sunlight, still wearing her prison uniform, to find her father waiting in his wheelchair. Beside him, barely containing his excitement, was Atlas. The moment Maya stepped through the gate, the German shepherd broke free from Victor's hold and raced toward her. Maya dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around her faithful companion as he weed and licked her face, his entire body wiggling with joy. "I missed you too, boy," she whispered, burying her face in his fur. "Dad told me what you did. You never gave up on me." Victor wheeled closer, his eyes shining with tears of happiness. "That dog knew you were innocent from the start. He just needed to show the rest of us how to prove it." Sam and Ortiz stood nearby, giving the family their moment before approaching. "The investigation into Garrison's contract fraud scheme is expanding," Ortiz informed Maya. 12 officers have been implicated so far. The funds they stole from veteran rehabilitation programs are being recovered, and Lieutenant Foster has been appointed to oversee the reformed program. Sam added, "She's making sure the money actually reaches the veterans who need it." Maya nodded, still holding Atlas close. "What about Garrison facing multiple life sentences?" Ortiz replied, "He confessed to killing Westfield after the colonel threatened to expose their scheme. Then he framed you. Knowing your history with Westfield made you the perfect scapegoat. The Army has offered you full reinstatement," Victor told his daughter, "with promotion to major and back pay." Maya looked down at her prosthetic leg, then Atlas, who hadn't left her side. "I think I'm done with the military. Dad, there are other ways to serve." 6 months later, the Maya Rodriguez Veterans Advocacy Center opened its doors. funded by a settlement from the government and donations from supporters. Touched by her story, the center provided legal aid, medical support, and service dogs to veterans struggling with the system that had once failed Maya herself. Atlas had his own special role helping to train new service dogs and providing comfort to veterans suffering from PTSD. His uncanny ability to sense distress made him particularly effective with those whose trauma remained hidden beneath stoic exteriors. On the Sense opening day, Maya stood before a crowd of supporters, Atlas sitting proudly at her side. General Winters, now a vocal advocate for judicial reform and military cases, was among the distinguished guests. When I was sentenced to death for a crime I didn't commit, I lost faith in the system I had sworn to defend, Maya told the audience. What restored that faith wasn't an institution or a legal process. It was the unwavering loyalty of a dog who knew the truth when no one else would listen. She reached down to stroke Atlas's head. Sometimes justice comes from unexpected sources. Sometimes the truth has 4 legs and a wet nose. The crowd laughed, but there was a deeper appreciation in their applause, an acknowledgement that in a world of complex systems and human fallibility, sometimes the purest form of justice comes from the simplest form of love. As Maya concluded her speech, a young veteran approached with a service dog in training, a German Shepherd puppy that bore a striking resemblance to Atlas. "This is the first graduate of our training program," Maya explained, kneeling despite her prosthetic to greet the puppy. "We're calling him Justice." Atlas sniffed the puppy curiously, then gave a soft woof of approval. Like his handler, he had found his purpose not just as a service dog, but as a living reminder that truth, no matter how deeply buried, will always find its way to the night.